Update on the Bogoso Prestea Mines Investment Mirage, or call it, yes, which other name you wish. Trafigura loan and status of Mincom 120-day notice. Excuse me. The Bogoso Prestea gold mine is located in the western region of Ghana. It sits on the southern end of the Ashanti Greenstone Belt, a 250-kilometer geological corridor of Paleoproterozoic structures. Okay. By any measure, it is one of the planet's most fertile gold-bearing structures. The Bogoso Prestea complex was an open-pit operation until underground mining commenced in Prestea in 2017. The underground workings are extensive, reaching depths of 1,450 meters. The Atlantic Greenstone Belt hosts Obuasi, Takwa, Wasa, and Daman. The Bogoso Prestea mine remains one of Ghana's most strategic gold mining assets and has historically served as a major economic development hub within the Prestea-Hunu Valley area. For decades, the mine provided employment for thousands of residents, supported local businesses, and contributed significantly to the economic stability of communities within the municipality. Now let's come to the grant of the mining lease. The mineral rights held by FGR, Bogoso Prestea Limited, was terminated in line with Section 68(1) and 102 of the Minerals and Mining Act 2006, that's Act 703, and Regulations 200, Sub-Regulation 1 of the Minerals and Mining, into brackets, Licensing Regulations 2012, LI 2126. Clause 27 of the mining leases held by the company, as well as on the advice of the Attorney General at the time. Consequently, the Minerals Commission issued a notice of termination to the company, and as a result, the mineral rights were reverted to the state. The Minerals Commission, upon the directives of the then Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Honorable Samuel Abujinapo, engaged prospective investors to revamp same. The Minerals Commission received applications from companies based in Ghana, China, and Turkey. These companies are Heath Goldfields, a subsidiary of Yildirim Group of Turkey, Global Incorporate Ghana Limited from Ghana, and Zhonggan Ghana Investment Limited from China. All the investors were asked to provide a detailed project implementation plan and evidence of the financial resources available to them to revamp the mine. Overall, Heath Goldfields' redevelopment plan was considered the most comprehensive and technically sound for revamping the mine. This was premised on the fact that Heath Goldfields is majority owned by Yildirim, the mining division of Yildirim Group based in Turkey, with assets totaling over 2 billion. So let's emphasize this, that the mining lease was given to Heath Goldfields on the basis that they were said to be majority owned by a Turkish company, Yildirim. And Yildirim is also a subsidiary of Yildirim, okay? Or Yildirim, sorry, Yildirim. So Yildirim owned majority in Heath, or owns majority in Heath Goldfields, and Yildirim is also owned by Yildirim, a Turkish company. That was the basis. So if you Google, you see that they are supposed to have muscles. So if you check Yildirim online, you see that it's a big conglomerate. It has the right muscles. And so that's the basis on which Heath Goldfields won. Okay. But the story hasn't turned out to be the same. As we review down. Now, emerging issues upon the grant of the lease. It is important to note that the Bogoso Prestea mining lease was granted to Heath Goldfields Limited on 13 December 2024 during a transitional period when government had explicitly directed that all transactions and agreements, including mining leases, should cease. Notwithstanding this directive, the mining lease was granted by Honorable Samuel Abujinapo at the time when Heath Goldfields Limited had failed to satisfy the key conditions outlined in the notification award. Yeah, so here too, let me pause once again so that you see that this is a key part of it. So that's in the award letter, they were asked to make certain payments within 7 days. That wasn't done, so that's what we are going to. These conditions included the settlement of outstanding obligations to employees, the Ghana Revenue Authority, SNET, GRIDCO, VRA, and local contractors, locums. Pursuant to the terms of the award, these payments were to be completed within 7 days from 14th of November 2024, when the notification of award was issued. In Heath Goldfields Limited's revised strategic mines development plan, which accompanied the company's successful bid to acquire the mining lease, Heath Goldfields outlined the following implementation timelines. 1. Phase 1. That will be from Q1 to Q3 of 2025. What they were to do was site preparation and infrastructural development. Then there is phase 2, which is Q4 of 2025 to the whole of this year, 2026, which will be commencement of mining operations. Then there's also phase 3, which will be Q3 of 2026 to Q4 of 2036. That will be the full-scale production and community development initiatives. Then there's also phase 4, which is Q1 of 2037 to Q4 of 2039. That will be the reclamation and mine closure. So, however, in terms of investment, Heath Goldfields committed to doing the following in Chapter 15 of its revised strategic mine development plan. 1. Internal financing. That's Heath Goldfields has structured a $500 million investment from Yilmaden Holdings. So remember we said earlier on, so Yilmaden Holdings is the one that owns majority stake in Heath Goldfields. And Yilmaden is also owned by Yildrim. So it means that the majority shareholder says, I'm bringing $500 million. It's not in 1 year, please. This is very important. It's to be spread over 5 years. Okay? Now, the initial phase, but this is where the problem starts. The initial phase, that's phase 1, will involve $150 million investment in the first 18 months. So this is where we should be counting from. So $150 million within the first 18 months with an immediate release, that's in Q4 of the 2024, of $50 million targeting the payment of key essentials for the restart, or call it the revamp, including employee benefits, suppliers, maintenance works, etc., with the remaining $100 million to be spent from Q1 of 2025, spread over the remaining months, targeting key operational activities. So let's go over this. So it means that Q4 of 2024, they were to do an immediate release of $50 million in the last quarter of 2024. As we see today, you would see in the next breakdown I'm going to give. This is April. April is almost gone. They have spent at least from the verifiable information, 23.7 million. That's what we have, is their own data, 23.7 million. Meanwhile, in the last quarter of 2024, that's in December 2024, November, December, they were to release 50 million and then spend 100 million within 2025. But we've gone past 2025. We are in 2026, first quarter gone, and we are still not above 30 million in terms of the expenditure. So you see that the agreement is gone what? South, deeply south. This agreement is gone deeply south, irretrievably gone. So in terms of expenditure so far, Heath Goldfields has expended $12.8 million on ex-employee salaries and provident funds, and $2.7 million on legacy suppliers debt, and then $8.2 million in preparatory works and infrastructure rehabilitation. So the total is $23.7 million, right? Which is far short of what the 150 they were supposed to have spent by the close of 2025. So contractual breaches. On May 16, 2025, the Minerals Commission's Regional Office submitted a report regarding the operations of the Bogoso Prestea mines under the control of Heath Goldfields Limited. The report evaluated various aspects of the mines, including the processing plant, the tailings storage facility, the process water treatment plant, and the open pits. The tailings storage facility was found in a dilapidated condition with no engineering contractors on site. The process water treatment plant was non-operational and no visible activities of mining was seen at the mine, notwithstanding Heath Goldfields' Q1 2025 obligation under its development plan, the revised development plan. So meaning they should have started what? Preparing the sites, clearing, etc., and then mine. Furthermore, observable development since the lease assignment raised concerns regarding the availability of the proposed initial investment of $150 million within the first 18 months. This was reportedly intended to settle, as we've already stated, employee outstanding salaries, etc. Now, based on the commitments that were expected to be implemented within this period, but which have not been done, there are reasonable grounds to believe that Heath Goldfields lacks the financial capacity to manage the mine. That's the point. By now, $150 million should have been sunk. So if we haven't said anything at all, what we're saying is that by now, $150 million must have been sunk. It's not should, it's an agreement, it's binding, must have been sunk. So once the $150 million has not been sunk, it means that we are seriously in the realm of what? A breach. And look, to be clear, we are very reasonable people. This press conference wouldn't have happened if they were somewhere around 100 million. We all know business, things happen, right? If they had sunk in 100 million by this time, no, you wouldn't have seen me here. I don't do that. I understand businesses face challenge, etc. I wouldn't have been here with them. But where we are 23.7 million, which is even far short of the 50 million that was required to have been released in December 2024. And for crying out loud, this is what? First quarter of 2026, gone. So we don't take pleasure in coming to complain. No, I've never lent my voice to persons who like cry baby, they listen, you are crying. No, I appreciate that businesses go through difficulties, etc. So before I lend my voice to such a cause, I sit back and ask myself, yourself, do you know that you can experience such a challenge? Then I think through carefully. So please, We are not taking delight in just coming to run somebody down. No, we've thought carefully about this. Okay, so status of pumping and dewatering operations at the Prestea underground mine. According to the strategic mine development plan submitted to the commission, Heath Goldfields was expected to procure and install a $2 million pumping system for the pumping and dewatering of underground water aquifers to maintain operational levels between Q1 2024 and Q3 2025. For more than a year now, this pump has not been procured and installed. On 20th of August 2025, in a letter addressed to the current Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Emmanuel Ama Kofibua, by the Chief Inspector of Mines, Richard Kofi Eje, entitled Unsafe Working Conditions Underground, Heath Goldfields Limited. The former Chief Inspector of Mines made the following observations. From 30 level to sub-levels above 18 level are flooded with water, and the level of water being pumped onto the surface is not improving. Okay. I think this thing is mixed up. It's not improving, sorry. If the mine is not careful, it will take years for the water to drop to 30 level. Hence, the mine cannot even use 120 days window to pump out water below 18 level down to the shaft bottom, and the breach will take years to remedy in terms of water management. So that's the August 2025 report by the then Chief Inspector of Mines. He continued to say that even accumulation of stagnant water is prohibited underground in accordance with Regulation 17A of the Minerals and Mining, that's Health, Safety, and Technical Regulations 2012, LI 2182. So we hereby restate categorically that to the Minister that the technical advice of the former Chief Inspector of Mines remains consistent with the current reality. That's to say, Heath Goldfields doesn't look like it can deliver on the job, deliver on its promises, deliver so that my clients can get jobs. For more than 5 months after the expiration of the 120-day notice period, the water level at the Prestea underground mine remains at approximately 115 feet, 12 inches. That is below the 19 level. Now let's come to status of maintenance and expansion of tailings storage facility. With respect to the expansion and maintenance of the tailings storage facility, Heath Goldfields continue to deposit tailings into cells 1 and 2, which have no available free band. This situation constitutes a serious breach of Regulations 264A, and P of the Minerals and Mining, into brackets, Health, Safety, and Technical Regulations 2012. The cells are filled to capacity, thereby increasing the risk of overstopping, and exposing downstream communities such as Dumasi and Bogoso to potential flooding or submergence in the event of a dam failure. So that's the ticking time bomb. For more than a year, the construction works at Cell 2 and Cell 2A, that's the embankments. The embankments here, we are talking about 11, 12, 15, 6, and 7, have remained incomplete due to resource constraints faced by the contractors, Ennas and Rockfield. The situation is reportedly linked to outstanding debts owed to these contractors, which have slowed progress on the project. Okay, so the current level is... Yeah. Okay, so please, we just have some this information right to the minute, so I want to correct it. The current level is... Sorry. Okay, so it's approximately 30 feet below 20 level. These are technical terms. So let's just say that in simple language, the mine is still flooded. That's all in simple language. Yes, that's it. Let's move on. Okay. Now, as part of infrastructure development, the 120-day notice further highlighted Heath Goldfields' commitment to procure and install a new crushing plant for production efficiency between Q1 2024 and Q3 2025. It's important to note that for more than a year now, this crushing plant has not been procured and installed. How can a processing plant run without a crusher? The crusher is part of the processing plant to get the gold out. This development borders on safety and the efficient running of the processing plant. Okay, now let's come to status of maintenance and operations of the processed water treatment plant. That's another component. It is worthy to note that the processed water treatment plant has remained non-operational since December 2023, raising concerns regarding water management within the operation. The apparent lack of financial capacity has delayed and adversely impacted the project timelines. Heath Goldfields was expected to pay a mobilization fee of $500,000 between Q4 2024 and Q1 2025 to enable Veolia to commence maintenance and operations of the treating plant. However, the mobilization payment was not made within the stipulated period, and an outstanding debt of approximately $1,300,000 remains unpaid. It's only recently that after the expiration of the 120-day notice, that the Mewatech has been engaged to commence work on the plant. So after so the minister gave 120-day notice. They couldn't comply. Then, after it, now they've brought Mewatech to come and commence work on the plant. Too little, too late. Okay, so status of refurbishing the oxide carbon in leach plant. Now, some minor maintenance, sandblasting and painting works have been undertaken on the oxide plant and other ancillaries to mark time. However, the critical plant infrastructure and equipment have not been installed as promised in the Heath Goldfields revised strategic mine development plan. Those that have not been installed that we are complaining about are: 1, a jaw crusher and secondary crusher, which are critical process pumps. Sorry, the jaw crusher, the secondary crusher, critical process pumps, CRL, gearboxes, kiln spores, a 48-inch new Nelson concentrator for the gravity plant, gold room electrowinning rectifiers, payment to Samsung for cyanide supplies, okay, electrowinning cells, as well as the SAG and ball mill liners. So we'll make it simple. It means there are a lot of critical equipment, not but simple. The specifics can be mind-boggling, right? The estimated value of this outstanding procurement is approximately $8,800,000. These procurements and installations were scheduled to occur between the fourth quarter of 2024 and the third quarter of 2025. To date, after the first quarter of 2026, these equipment have neither been delivered to site nor installed within the stated period. So please, let's watch. By all means, after this press encounter, there will be counters. What we are saying is that today, the equipment have not been delivered to site. It's easy for somebody to come and say, oh, the equipment have arrived. We are saying that this equipment was supposed to have been delivered and installed between the fourth quarter of 2024 and the third quarter of 2025. We've gone past, and today, as we speak, there's nothing at the site. So if somebody tells you that, oh, the equipment have arrived at the port, please, it's a different kettle of fish. We can only talk about what we see on the site. Status of sulfide plant development and life of mine. In October 2024, Heath Goldfields Limited informed the Minerals Commission through its revised strategic mine development plan of its commitment to procure and construct a 200 ton per hour sulfide processing plant to treat the extensive refractory ore deposits at the Bogoso Prestea mine. The construction of this sulfide plant was indicated to be contingent upon the availability of approximately $350 million in financing from Yilmardin Holdings. Once again, we are meeting Yilmardin. That's the majority shareholder of Heath Goldfields. However, available information indicate that Yilmardin Holdings has no commercial relationship with Heath Goldfields, raising serious concerns regarding the viability of the proposed financing arrangement. The extended life of mine of the Bogoso Prestea mine is largely dependent on the successful development and commissioning of a sulfide processing plant to process the refractory ore resources. The development of such infrastructure requires substantial capital investment and long-term financial commitment. It cannot be satisfactorily achieved through a mine and operate or a self-financing model, which operates, that's where operations are substantially, covered through the proceeds or through revenue raised from the mine. So what we are talking about here is that the mine and operate or self-financing model involves a situation where they mine now, and out of the money they get, then they can invest. That's not the plan that was presented to the Minerals Commission. No, that's not the plan. That, oh, we'll go and take over the mine, we will give far less than, or we'll invest far less than we promised, but rather we'll go in, when we mine and we make profits, then we'll plow back. No, it's not a plow back plan. No, it's not for plowing back profits. Not at this stage. The plan is that $500 million within 5 years. The stage one was, or phase one was $150 million. We've gone past the phase one, which requires $150 million. And till date, available information to us is a spending of $23.7 million, not $150 million. Okay, so status of payment of employee entitlements. Heath Goldfields was required to pay all entitlements, that's accrued salaries, end of contract benefits, provident fund, leave balance, etc., within 7 days after completing negotiations with the unions, right? These negotiations were done from 14th of November 2024, when the notification of award was given. Now, it's the case that Heath Goldfields Limited completed payment of parts of this employee entitlement, rather in the fourth quarter of 2025. So something they were to do within 7 days after the award notification. The award notification was in November 2024. So the whole of so it means I should have been paid in 2024. But they took 1 year on. It was in December 2025 that they paid part. Okay? All right. Even though this was a precondition for the approval of the lease. So please, let's note this. You see, the award notification is not the mining lease. It's an award notification. but it had conditions. The 14th of November 2024 one. Oh, you've won. You are the one to be given the mining lease. We will, but before you get the mining lease, do X, Y, Z, preconditions. These preconditions were not met. Okay. Okay, so now this earlier sign obviously raised a red flag on the financial capacity of Heath Goldfields. All right. So as of today, SNIT Tier 2 and severances remain unpaid. So as of today, SNIT Tier 2 and severances remain unpaid. So you see, more than almost a year and a half on. From, if you check from December 2024. All right, so current status of termination of the lease by the minister. The Minerals Commission, as part of its routine regulatory oversight, is currently conducting a comprehensive technical assessment of the mine designed to determine if the actions being taken by Heath Goldfields meet the legal and operational requirements stipulated in the notice to remedy breaches and the terms of its mining lease. We are confident that the minister will duly direct for the termination of the lease, since it is overwhelmingly clear that Heath Goldfields is not financially sound to handle the operations of the mine. This is against the backdrop that Future Gold Resources, right? Future Global Resources, FGL, had its leases revoked following its inability to meet statutory payments and settle obligations to creditors. So we are saying, Abaya the board teaching. These liabilities were subsequently inherited, with the state placing responsibility for the new operator, okay, negotiating within the 7 days and commencing payment within 7 days after the negotiations from 14th of November 2024, right? So the state inherited these liabilities and said, okay, the new operator, the new lessee should take over. And that's what Heath Goldfields was supposed to do. It's important to note that none of these payments were made prior to the authorization of the leases and continue to be outstanding. So as we're talking now, we're still talking about those payments being outstanding. So condition precedent breached, and even after condition precedent, you were given the mining lease, and as we are talking today, the payments are still outstanding. So, Honorable Minister, we submit these findings to you, and we respectfully ask if the above as stated meets your reasonable satisfaction under Section 68(1) of the Minerals and Mining Act 2006, that's Act 703, to allow Heath Goldfields continuous occupancy of the Bogoso Prestea mining leases. So that's a question for the minister, considering all these breaches. Now, the people are yearning for a capable and well-resourced investor to take over the operations of the mine. We respectfully appeal to you, Honorable Minister, to hear our concerns and take the necessary action to unlock the full potential of the Bogoso Prestea mining asset for the benefit of the community and the nation as a whole. Now let's come to extensive collateralization of the national asset for $65 million from Trafigura. Okay. The basis for the call for the termination of the leases granted to Heath Goldfields Limited is premised on the failure of Heath Goldfields to obtain parliamentary ratification of its mining leases as required in Article 2681 of the Constitution 1992 and Section 54 of the Minerals and Mining Act 2006, Act 703, and the creation of a charge or encumbrance over the mining leases without the prior written approval of the minister, contrary to Section 14(1) of the Act. So what we are saying here is that Heath Goldfields has secured a prepayment debt financing from Trafigura. This is a $65 million prepayment agreement for 700,000 ounces of gold. And this has created an unauthorized charge over the mine and the mining assets. Under the terms of the agreement, signed on 2nd April 2026, Heath Goldfields has agreed to grant a first-ranking fixed and floating charge over virtually all its assets. These include 1, bank accounts and revenues, that is to say, all money standing to the credit of the company account. 2, infrastructure and equipment, that is to say, all mining properties, plants, and machinery in Bogoso, Prestea. Then 3, the mining leases, a first priority assignment of the mining leases themselves. So in simple terms, meaning that Heath Goldfields has used our national asset, the mineral right, that's the mining lease, as collateral. And if you go and take a loan with a collateral, I'm sure we all know what happens when there's a default. Okay, so that is the big challenge. So by doing a bypass of sovereign regulatory gatekeeping, what we are saying here is that the agreement is structured in a manner that creates an immediate effective date for all assets, including the mining leases, which are supposedly contingent on a future consent date from the minister. So what we are saying is that you've agreed for Trafigura to take over these mining leases, etc., when you have not yet sought the consent of the minister. It's a breach of the law. We can cite 1,001 Supreme Court decisions. When you go to court, the court will say, no, this one, we can't help you. So Heath Goldfields has agreed that Trafigura can have the mines when there's a default. Meanwhile, they have not yet sought and obtained the consent of the minister. That's a serious breach. No amount of ingenuity can resolve this, because the law is very clear that you have to get the consent of the minister before you use our national asset as collateral. And please, let's note this. Enforcement without judicial process. Clause 13.2 of the agreement allows Trafigura to enforce its rights and seize the assets without prior judicial or arbitral process. So it's in there that, look, if you default, I come for the mine, all those things. They don't need to go to court. That's where the danger is. This means a foreign lender could potentially take control of the mine's operational plant and equipment, okay, before the state has formally approved the encumbrance of the land itself. Misleading representation on asset status. In clause 8.1.5, Heath Goldfields states that the charged assets, which include the mining leases, and the mining leases are government assets, and equipment are owned legally and beneficially by them, free and clear of any adverse claim or encumbrance. Furthermore, but that's not true, because there's an encumbrance. You can't give it out without a consent, right? So furthermore, in clause 8.1.8, the company claims that to the best of its knowledge, there are no outstanding or threatened actions or suits that could materially affect the market value or ownership of the charged assets. I said this is false. Risk of shifting from private equity to mortgage. So it means that with the $65 million loan that they've taken from Trafigura, they've changed from private equity. Remember, when we say private equity, their own plan says what? Martin was bringing in $500 million. That's private equity. So they are changing from that model to this mortgage style, you see. So remember, we also mentioned earlier that mine operate and then get profits to fund it, okay? mine and operate. We said no, or self-financing, no. So now they are going to mortgage, which they have done by doing a debenture with Trafigura. Okay, so this shift from the traditional private equity funding, that's a $500 million, to a high-risk mortgage structure over a sovereign mineral right is deeply concerning. The agreement allows for the appointment of a receiver with broad powers to take possession, operate, and even dispose of the charged assets. Such a structure exposes the host communities and the state, as Ghana, to the risk of losing operational control and the economic benefits derived from these gold resources. That's a serious matter. The Trafigura financing of $65 million debenture to Heath Goldfields Limited as security over the mining leases only becomes effective upon obtaining the minister's no objection and subsequent registration with the Minerals Commission. Now, this places the state in a critical gatekeeping position, as granting such consent would formally enable the encumbrance of a sovereign mineral right in favor of a private offshore lender. We trust that the minister will do the needful. Like he won't let such a thing happen. We have cited the draft report of the Professor Kuma-led committee where Heath Goldfields Limited presented a phase 1 investment plan of $205 million as shown below. This is different from the $500 million available from Yelmadin Holdings, on which basis the Bogoso Prestea mining leases were awarded to them. So please, ladies and gentlemen of the media, note another thing. So now they are shifting again from the $500 million on which the lease was given to them to now say $205 million. That's not on. You make a promise that you are going to pump in $500 million. Yilmadin, oh, my parent company has a lot of financial muscle, lots of financial muscle. This one is chicken change. Then the lease is given to you. Then you do a U-turn and come and now say that, oh, you are going to invest $205 million after all. Please, this is not on. We can't have this chameleon-like kind of investment. No, no chameleons. Maintain the color. The color is $500 million. If the color is now supposed to change to 205, okay, then let's go back to the market. Let the market determine whether we will get somebody who can give more than $205 million or will not get. If will not get, why not? Then Heath Goldfields maybe should have it after considering all the options on the table. So this is how they propose to finance with the, how to raise financing, the $205 million they are now mentioning. They say there will be a shareholder loan of $30 million, Trafigura financing, which is $65 million, that one has come. ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development, $100 million. First Atlantic Bank, $5 million. Guarantee Trust Bank, $6 million. As of November 2025, the only financing that had been disbursed was $30 million, that was a $30 million shareholder loan agreement from Eureka Capital Limited. Subsequently, there is no record. We are talking about record that we've seen. There's no record of any disbursements from the entities above. What I just read, they said they were going to get a $205 million from shareholder loan, that's a $30 million. Then Trafigura financing 65, which is in the news. But we've not seen anything about the ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development, which is the crown jewel, $100 million. We've not seen anything like that. First Atlantic Bank, $5 million. We've not seen. Guarantee Trust Bank, $6 million. We've not seen. Okay. Now, we've already mentioned the expenditure so far, which totals $23.7 million, when they should be, at least as of December 2025, it should have been $150 million. We've already made that point. Okay. before I go to the conclusion. Okay. All right, so conclusion. The evidence presented unequivocally demonstrates that Heath Goldfields Limited lacks the technical competence. Okay, it's fine. It happens. Let me start this part again. The evidence presented unequivocally demonstrates that Heath Goldfields Limited lacks the technical competence, financial capacity, and good faith required to manage the Bogoso Prestea mines. Despite receiving the mining lease on 13 December 2024 on the strength of ambitious commitments, including a 500 million investment from Yilmardin Holdings, timely payment of employee entitlement and legacy debts, rapid infrastructure rehabilitation, and phased operational restart, Heath Goldfields has consistently failed to deliver. More than 16 months later, the underground mine remains flooded. The processing plant largely non-operational. The tailings storage facility is in a dangerous state, and critical equipment such as the crusher have not been procured. Promised payment to employees, SNIT, GRA, and local contractors remain largely outstanding, while illegal mining thrives in abandoned sections. Most alarmingly, Heath Goldfields Limited has encumbered the state's mineral rights with a 65 million Trafigura prepayment facility, creating unauthorized charges over national assets without parliamentary ratification or ministerial consent, in clear violation of the Constitution 1992 and the Minerals and Mining Act 2006, Act 703. This pattern of breaches, misrepresentations, reckless collateralizations, etc., mirrored the failures that led to the termination of the previous operator, that's FGL. For the sake of the Prestea Union Valley communities, national revenue, and the integrity of Ghana's mining sector, we respectfully urge the Honorable Minister to exercise his powers under Section 68 of the Minerals and Mining Act 2006, Act 703, to terminate Heath Goldfields mining leases without further delay and initiate a transparent process for a genuinely capable investor. The people of Prestea deserve no less. Ghana's gold resources must serve Ghana first.